Hello and welcome to Sacred Psychology, the podcast for misfits and mystics. Here, neuroscience and spirituality go hand in hand. Join me, Tamara Powell, on a no-holds-barred adventure outside the box, because that's where all the truly great shit happens anyway. Welcome back to Sacred Psychology and Happy New Year! I'm your host, Tamara Powell, and today I am once again joined by the incredible Alexander Cavucci for our Cracked Open series. Because it's the first of the new year, y'all know we were going to have to talk about some goal setting. And because Alex and I are such a perfect yin-yang, we are all about exploring how to find that sacred sweet spot to keep you motivated and not burnt out, and to bring the sacred into your goal setting. So I want to kick things off with a Cavucci quotable. Alex recently said, "Screw intentions, make some declarations this year, and then own them like your life depends on it." It does. So without further ado, let's dive in. Welcome to the Cracked Open series. I'm Tamara Powell.
And I'm Alexander Cavucci.
And we believe that we're all really just shells hoping to be chiseled open so we can see the universe within.
We hope to pave the way for you if you're looking for a place to be cracked open, unraveled, and join us on this journey.
So we'll show you ours if you'll show us yours. Hey, Alex.
Hello.
So excited.
I know. I feel like it's been a while since we've recorded.
It has been a hot minute, but for lots of great reasons.
Wonderful reasons. And closing out a year, I feel like there's always a lot of energetic shift and scheduling shifts at the end of a year. I don't know what your experience is with, everybody talks about goals and talks about transitioning, but I always feel a lot of potency at the end of each year.
And beautiful synchronicity. We're recording this on the winter solstice.
Ooh.
And the first day of Yule. So by the time this comes out, it'll be in January. But I just think you're talking about transitions. And instantly I start thinking about the threshold, about this last quarter of the year, and beautiful time, especially in the pagan community we're on the threshold. Yeah. Lovely winter solstice.
So what's this time of year like for you? I know, we wanted to kind of dive into talking a little bit about transition. And you and I work in a community or multiple communities, whether that be the coaching community and therapy and just life, right? Where there's a lot of stuff around goal setting or intentions or this or that or whatever. And I'm really curious what your process is for shifting, for moving, for saying goodbye and opening up to something else.
Wow, there are a lot of beautiful questions in that. So I actually was thinking about how around this time of year, you'll see huge radical proponents of goal setting and of shedding and being introspective. And then you're going to see all the diehard, strict behaviorist types that are like, that's bullshit. Don't set up New Year's resolutions. It's just going to make you freaking fail. Like, totally. Yeah. And I'm in somewhere in the middle, but definitely more on the I love it side. As a diehard existentialist, I love paying attention to where am I at right now? Where did I come from? Where am I going?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And I like that you mentioned how much noise there is, because there is. There's a lot of noise, like set your SMART goals. Why SMART goals suck? Don't set goals, set these instead, right? Like we can give all the little clickbaity versions of it. But I love that what I'm hearing from you is like, how you operate.
Right.
And that's the most important thing.
So when you first proposed this topic, I thought, oh, people are either going to roll their eyes or this is going to be their, next cued topic to explore with us. They're either going to get jazzed up by it or push us away.
Totally.
And I'm kind of coming in, flipping the whole table over and going, do you, boo? Like figure out where your optimal spot is with it.
Yes. I love that. I love that because I've been one to consume information like it's cereal at 2 a.m. on a drunk night. Just like, yeah, right? Like I have been that woman. And I can tell you that there's nothing as powerful, and you obviously know this, there's nothing as powerful as listening to yourself and figuring out what works for you. Because at the end of the day, what works is what works for you every single time, right?
Right.
And with all the noise going on, I used to be somebody who got so nervous, like that I was doing it wrong or that I was wrong. And as you know, I still spin into that sometimes if I'm not careful.
And I think that's where the empowerment lies, is how do you know if you're spinning? How do you know if goal setting is now becoming a OCD like leash around your neck? Or if you are so averse to it that you've actually started to take pride in going with the flow to an unhealthy degree. And yes, there is an unhealthy pushing away aversion to embracing the next challenge.
I was just thinking about this the other day, thinking about how there seems to be kind of obviously the masculine and the feminine side, right? There's people who preach like, just go with the flow, do what feels good and da-da-da-da-da. And then there's people who preach, set your SMART goals and like bust through this shit, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I've noticed that on one end, if you bust through too much shit, you often lose touch with yourself. And on the other end, if you're flowing too much, you often lose touch with the fact that you have responsibilities and there are challenges that you're not really going to feel like doing, right?
Right. So when I think about this from a business perspective, the person who hustles too hard ends up losing their zeal for it. They lose their passion.
Totally.
The person who's way too much in the flow is going to lose the dollars.
Totally. And how do we find the balance? How do we find the balance?
Well, the proof is in the pudding. You have to be able to be mindful enough and have the balls to look at yourself in the mirror and say, how am I doing on the passion and how am I doing in actually achieving what I would like?
Yeah. Yeah.
It almost takes more effort to lie to yourself.
Well, it certainly takes more energy.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, and I think, in a magic pill society, it's really easy to look to everyone else for answers. But I think one of the most powerful ways to harness any energy is to take radical responsibility and look at yourself.
Kavuchi quotable number 1. Take radical responsibility.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think where people try to do that at the end of the year, it can also go awry because they can lose touch with themselves. Radical responsibility for some looks like I'm going to set 20 million SMART goals without even checking in with myself, right? I'm going to be responsible for my external experience or whatever.
This is where I think it's helpful to set an intention.
Yes.
Start with the feeling. I would really encourage people to get quiet with themselves and daydream about how do I want to feel in the new year or in the new month or in the new hour? Because quite frankly, we are always in transition. From the second that you are born, and yes, this is a diehard existentialist thing to say, but there is a newie, right? Like the whole world is in a state of entropy.
Right.
So on the threshold of every moment, there's shit happening in your body, in your cells, in your energy, in the world around you. You're always in a state of transition, whether you choose to pay attention to it or not. The Buddhists have a great saying about how you can't step into the same river twice.
Girl, preach. I love this.
Isn't that beautiful?
Yes.
So we do better to stay mindful of that, number one. And then how do you want to feel? Lovely. How do you want to feel next year?
Yeah.
It's a really great practice among high-end earners to choose a theme word for the next year.
Yeah.
And I know a lot of people, including, what is his name? Donald Miller of Build a Story brand. He puts it as part of his daily scheduled planner thing that you can download. Oh, wow. It's fantastic, by the way. Yeah, there's like a theme word for the day.
I really like that.
It's great because when you allow your soul to speak to you, because it's never about the thing, right? We've talked about this.
Right.
You're talking about money blocks. You're talking about abundance. You're talking about grade 6. It's never about the actual item. It's what am I?
It's the feeling.
Feel? Yes.
Totally. It is always the feeling. It's always going to be.
Start with the feel. Start with the feel. How do I want to feel? And then reverse engineer your quote unquote goals from there.
Totally. Yeah. Dre and I actually every year we will take a hike together. So like a couple of, like a week or 2 weeks before the actual new year, we'll take a hike together and we always talk out in nature. So we just like get everything off of our chests. What did I not like about this year? How do I want to feel? Who do I want to be? Who was I? What do I want to let go of? Just kind of like moving the energy and letting it out into the open, right? And doing it in a way where we're moving our bodies and we're together and we're in nature. And we always talk together about 4 areas: relationship, career, spirituality, and health. And you can have as many areas as you want. You can have one area. You can have the area of just you as a human, whatever it is. But we always get everything out in the open, literally in the open, in nature. And from there, we start to really construct a vision, which is really helpful for me because I love the feels. I don't tend to be super structured. But once we tap into that feeling, once we start getting that flowing, then that's where I want to start putting the little puzzle pieces together.
Mm-hmm.
You know? And so we always do that. And then after we go over it outside and take our hour or 2 hike, we go sit down at a coffee shop and we talk about like, all right, what are our real intentions? And then we go a little deeper and we talk about what are our declarations. And that's like stuff that you've really got to be ready for, right? Like, what am I declaring for this year? And I find that that's got like such a powerful energy, at least for me. That's something that I found, because an intention is like, all right, this is what I want. But I save declarations for like these really special things that I know I'm done with, or I know I'm starting with. And there's no room for any movement in that. Like, I'm doing it.
Hallelujah. I was just going to say almost that exact thing, but I love that piece about declaring it to yourself, to your partner, to the freaking universe. So, you know, I'm a systems girl, so I'm going to back it up. What we are saying is get quiet, start with the feel, choose an intention, declare it out. Double points if you put this on paper and tack it everywhere on your phone, on your screensaver, on your desktop, everywhere. And then the goals.
Yes.
Then the structure comes in, and you have to have both. This is where the woo community starts talking about aligned action.
Yep.
You won't be able to get there if you don't have both pieces. Stop putting your cart before the horse, lovelies. You have to know where you're going. And then this becomes the bar, the part that I was going to add on, that everything gets measured up against. So many people are running around like chickens with their freaking heads cut off because they don't know what the true aim is. They don't know where they're aiming. Someone handed them a bunch of arrows and they're just shooting them off based on wherever they're feeling at in their moment. So if you don't declare it out loud and you don't put that mark up on the target, painted in red, when opportunities start coming your way, you're going to get really confused. Totally. And you're also going to start shitting on yourself. This is why you get frustrated, because you think you're missing the mark, but there was no freaking mark.
There was no mark. And I've noticed, you know, for those listening who have really fast minds, like my mind is just going. One of the easiest ways to make a mark is to slow the fuck down. Like slow down. You know, you mentioned people running around like a chicken with their heads cut off. And I often find that those people running around are running to this coach and that guru and this process and that and this, and they're running looking for someone else to make a decision for them. But really, it's in the slowing down that the answers are always there. They're just there.
I just couldn't help but think about how they end up so dissatisfied with each process. Mm-hmm. And it's really unfortunate because to me as a coach and a counselor, what happens, and as a consumer, because
Yes.
I'm an advocate like you are,
Yeah.
coaches need coaches, therapists need therapists, yoginis need yogis.
Totally.
What I noticed, though, is that you can't be truly satisfied because you're missing the self-responsibility piece.
Totally.
You got to show up. And how can you show up if you don't know what you want? And you can't know what you want if you don't know who you are.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that kind of brings it around to, I've actually worked with a lot of women who are, when we get down to it, and this is never a surprise to me because I see it all the time, terrified of responsibility because responsibility to them has meant kids, bills, late nights, this, that, the other thing, going to work, job they hate, all of these things that feel burdensome. And so their dreams then become burdensome when it comes to setting a plan.
Right.
And that's always, I see people trip up there all the time and it kind of goes into like, follow your flow. Well, I don't really feel like doing anything today. It's like, well, responsibility doesn't always feel good when we are living under the definition of responsibility that we've taken on from the life that we don't want.
I giggle because I'm just like, preach. Yeah. When really the universe, your kids, your potential clients, everybody is eagerly waiting for you to do it the way that you want to do it.
Yes.
Like, let's turn this telescope around. What if you got to play? What if the energy around setting goal was, I get to.
Yes. Yes.
How lucky am I? I get to see 4 clients today. How lucky am I? I get to make dinner tonight the way that I want to.
Yes. That's a big one, the shift from have to get to. That's a big one.
I get to. The universe doesn't care how you use your gifts. It just wants you to.
Yeah. I get to make up my own rules in this whole fucking planet.
And the second I say that, I know there's always people going, but listen, Tams and Alex, you do not understand my situation. I'm stuck by this constraint, by that constraint, by this constraint. And this is where I'm always going to point you back to Viktor Frankl, Man's Search for Meaning.
Yes. Concentration
camp still has choices.
Yes. Yes, because the choice is not always the choice. The first choice is to change the way you're making meaning.
Mm-hmm.
The first choice is always internal. The first choice is always how you see it, what it means to you, what you do with it, how you respond to it. The rest changes from that.
Right. Change the story. That's really what it comes down to every time. So as a mom, listen, I hear you. I've got so many responsibilities on me all day, every day to people. I get up in the morning. I have responsibilities to my Facebook tribe. Then I have, well, first of all, responsibilities to myself first. Let's go there.
Yes.
To my children that I am taking to school, then to my clients, then to my children again, then to my partner. But the way that I bring myself to the table, the way that I allow myself to be the emotional thermostat for the room around me is up to me. There's always choice in that.
Absolutely.
I don't mean that you have to freaking love it. Listen, I hate carpool lanes. Okay. Can I get an amen? Like that, those hour-long ridiculous lines suck. But I reframe the telescope to, I get an hour of me time. There's nobody that can ask me to do anything in this time unless I allow them to. So I bring my Kindle. I may bring my music. It depends on the day. What I want to do then, I may, use that time to engage in social media. I may respond to emails. I may plan on my next podcast. Or I may just sit there with my eyeballs closed, not having to talk to anybody for an hour. Totally.
We've been staying with Dre's sister in Chicago, and she's got a 3-month-old baby and a 6-year-old. And she works some nights, and we were on baby duty last night. And I had, in my delirium of lack of sleep, I had this
I remember.
I know. I'm like, I don't know if I'm ready for this. I had this very, this large sense of awareness where I was laying in bed with Dre and little Desi was crying and we've been up all night and da-da-da and da-da-da. And we just started laughing and we realized we could either be miserable because the situation's not going to change.
Right.
We've got a child to care for and feed and burp and clean up the poop and the pee and the what, the situation's not going to change. But we could get grumpy at each other. We could be frustrated. We could lament the fact that we don't have any sleep, or we could laugh and I could spend a couple of, moments that I can't sleep reading a book I want to read. Mm-hmm. And we can use it to bond. And so it has nothing to do with the circumstance. It has everything to do with the woman you're being in it or the man you're being in it.
Right. To sort of bring it back around, what we're saying then is, sure, goals don't happen in a vacuum. There's always going to be constraints on us. All of us are going to have goals of, I want to be healthy. I want to pay my bills. I want to have good relationships. Like you said, the 4 areas, you can stretch them out. Mm-hmm. And there's always going to be systems that play upon you. But do not underestimate the power of freedom of choice.
Totally.
Play with that energy. Start with a sense of play rather than have to.
Totally. And to anybody who's creating, I know people are going to be listening to this after they've maybe done their New Year goals or whatever. Anybody that's feeling pressure around this time, start recognizing where you can surrender as well. Because if you're bringing pressure to all of this stuff that we're talking about, right? Like, well, I don't know the right thing for me, or, well, it's hard for me, or, well, I don't know what feels best, or whatever. Find out where you can surrender. Surrender to the fact that you're working your way through it, or that you might not have all the right answers, or that you might not have the perfect plan, right? But you can still own your way through it.
Beautiful. I love that. And let's talk about starting to meet these goals. I do love the idea of measuring the progress and how far you've come and celebrating that rather than just how far you have to go.
I love that you love that because I'm not great at that. And people like you continually remind me, damn it, Alex.
Yeah. Look where you were.
Look where you've been.
Hallelujah. Right?
Yeah, I love that. I love that.
And taking stock of the magic every day.
Yeah.
What a total 7 thing to say. But that's my spiritual gift. I'm going to use it. And by 7, I mean type 7 on the Enneagram for anyone who's not used to me talking about that yet.
I love it. Well, as a 4, I'd probably be like, am I doing it right?
Yes. And so something that you and I were talking about off air a little while ago was my new practice of journaling how many days old I am.
Yes.
And that's been a very great way of keeping my goals in check.
Yeah. And almost, you shared this with me on a private call and I love it. And it's almost, I don't know if you feel the same way. It's almost like a bigger existential why. They always tell you, what's the why? Why are you trying to lose weight? Why are you trying to build a business? Why? This gives you a sense of this larger existential why, right? Like, because I'm here. And I think that's a really powerful thing we don't often tap into. So I love that exercise that you shared with me and now with us.
Yeah, it allows for continuity, which is really important in the brain from a neuropsychology standpoint of past, present, and future. The psyche needs to have a sense of foundation of where I've been. What am I doing right now? And where am I working towards? Because for people who are listening to me, who are really heavy on the yin side, the feminine side, the I don't like setting goals, just want to go with the flow thing, I'm going to warn you right now, you can Google this. I am very confident in the research that if human beings do not have a goal, a challenge, something to struggle against. This happens in relationships. This is why sex sucks sometimes for a lot of you. If we don't have a challenge, your brain will come up with something to include toxicity like eating disorders. I was thinking of the other ED, erectile dysfunction, all manners of dis-ease, because we have to have something to push against. We're constantly in a state of transition because we're constantly seeking transformation.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm preaching.
I know. I love it. I'm sitting over here with my head, like leaning on my hands going,
Apologies for hitting my mic. Yes, you have to be working towards something. So we think about those girls back in middle school, high school. We're like, oh, she's addicted to the drama. Yes, she is. You know why? Because the brain lights up like a Christmas tree when it has a struggle.
Yeah. I worked with a woman a while ago who, for my mindset. And I remember I was feeling so frustrated, and this wasn't a time where I set goals or anything like that. I was feeling so frustrated. And she said to me, your brain needs food because you're making so many fucking problems out of nothing just so you can feed it. Just so you can, she's like, go learn Japanese. I don't care. Like, if you don't want to set a goal, go learn Japanese, go learn guitar, go do something to feed it that is not just trying to figure out all of your own problems. And I thought that was really, really powerful. I mean, that was really powerful for me because I started to see my brain as almost like this little thing that needs to be taken care of instead of, the driver in the front seat.
Yes. So this is why retirees often struggle. This is why couples who are in monotony struggle. It's a universal problem. So you can either make it work for you or you're going to suffer. This is, interestingly enough, been proven in science. We may have talked about this on a previous podcast. Not sure now. When we tried to grow trees on a space station or prepping it to grow them in outer space. Ooh. And they kept dying. They could not figure out why we could not put them in a closed off environment. And what radically, this cracks me up, what they found was trees need wind.
Oh my gosh.
They cannot build bark and roots without something to struggle against.
Oh, I love that. Oh my God.
I just love trees.
I love
a picture of trees. I sound like such a bleeding heart liberal hippie right now.
I love that. I never even considered that, but you're absolutely right.
So we had to install some fans. If we're going to build them on a space station out in Mars someday, trees have to have wind.
Wow.
And really so does your soul.
Right. Really powerful metaphor. Yeah.
So for those of you who are like, I don't need no resolutions. All right, fine. Call it something else. But you need something to push towards.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Or soul death. Warning you. Soul death.
Yeah. Yeah. And for those of you who feel like you're in, the windy fucking city of your soul, know that it is creating the roots if you decide to make it mean that. Know that it is creating the bark for you to withstand the things that you want, the bigness of life that you want. If you decide to make it mean that, if you decide to make it mean that you are getting worn down day in and day out, then that's precisely what will happen.
I couldn't have said it better myself. And that means you get to, once again, go back to, am I in my optimal zone for this? Each type on the Enneagram, each personality type, we don't have to use Enneagram language, is going to have a different set threshold preference for that active male energy and that active female energy.
Yes.
You have to know where you lie. So for you, type 1 reformers, OCD, type A, I'm trying to come up with all these other language that's not Enneagram.
Yeah.
Yeah, y'all can get a little too perfectionistic with your goals. It's a little too black and white, for sure. But on the other hand, the peacemakers of the world, the go with the flow.
Is that a what is that, 9?
Yes, that's the type 9.
That's right. She's very like, and it's we noticeably feel so much closer and excited when we go through our New Year process because we're creating challenges for the both of us and individually. But she's a 9. And sometimes I'm like, babe, just make a fucking goal. Go towards it. And she's like, babe, I'm just like, I'll work out when I want. And I'm like, baby, no, we're going to take care of our bodies right now. So
just a little structure, just a little.
Yeah. It's really funny to see that, see, I don't think I realize how much I absolutely adore structure until I'm having a discussion with my 9 fiance.
And realize how little she thinks she needs it.
Yep.
Yes. We all have our set preference. And
That's right.
again, how will you know if you're in your optimal flow? Well, there's this brilliant thing that the universe, God, whatever works for you, gave you in biofeedback of your feels. Which Alex can speak to all day, every day.
All day, every day. All day.
Your feels will let you know, are you overly worn out? Are you feeling so bogged down by your inner critic? Or are you feeling completely lackluster? Either way, you've gone too far.
Yeah. And for those of you that do feel terrified of your feelings, because I know I've been there, having a big range of emotion. This is also where I want to reiterate surrender, because I know that a lot of people can go into fixing mode instead of feeling mode, but the feeling mode is where so many answers and signposts and arrows are. And being afraid of that is shutting off your guidance system. And so surrender into those feelings, get into that body, feel what these emotions feel like as energy flowing through you. And you'll realize, oh my gosh, they're just feedback. I get it. Right. So that's kind of a little word to those of you out there who tend to have a little bit of a freak out.
Yes. And if you
see you, I know you.
And if you're getting stuck by your feels and you're the opposite, that's feeling way too much all day, every day, well, then you just need some more structure.
Totally.
Because I will tell you, there was times, I've had several dark nights of the soul in my life. And when I set a goal during my divorce from my children's father, I went back to school. I was on WIC and food stamps and sleeping on my sister's couch and going to school at night, totally exhausted. And there were so many.
Woman.
Yeah. There were so many days that I wanted to give up. But sheer will, that fire, this is where you have to declare, like I'm one that I love the declaration part. I set the feelings, I set the intention, and sometimes it is literally that structure that will carry you through. It's like scaffolding. It's like it becomes not a crutch in a bad way, but the thing that holds you up when you are I was collapsing in my feels. There were some days there was nothing else to do but fucking cry.
Wow.
You just fucking cry. You lock yourself in the bathroom, you moms, and you let it out. But there was no going back. It was the structure, the goals that carried me through. And sometimes breaking it down to what's on my planner today. Today is 14,065, I think, for me.
Yeah.
Was the way that I got through it.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a great point. I love that you said that, because that structure is so important, especially if you are in the flurry of emotion and feel like you don't have any footing, right? Because that is the foundation on which you build. Yes. And the foundation on which you build is the who that you become. Right.
Which means, takes me back to set that word first for the year.
Yes.
So I really don't want to take it much further than that, Alex. I think that is the shit.
Well said. I think that is the shit as well. I love it. And I always feel like I learn something in our conversations as well. And it just gives me so much joy.
Me too. Go out there and kick ass.
Yeah. Happy fucking New Year.
Amen. Thanks for listening to the Sacred Psychology Podcast. I pray you found some inspiration and empowerment to go out and make this life the most fulfilling possible. You can follow Sacred Psychology on Facebook and YouTube. If you haven't yet, please go to Apple Podcasts and subscribe, rate, and review this podcast. Tag us on social media and let us know what you think as well. Please note that the information provided is not meant to convey professional, psychological, or medical advice. If if you could use such services, I highly recommend seeking them out from someone you trust. To get in touch with me personally or to see how we might work together, please check out ariatherapy.com or talesfromatrapezoid.com. Until next time, everyone.